Go inside the Crimson Tide with your hosts Rodney Orr and Gary Harris, keeping you informed on everything Alabama. And now, Tider Insider TV.
All these factors are things that you don't look at on the surface. You just kind of look at the result, and then you start drawing conclusions without sort of looking at all the facts.
We always look at the facts here on TITV. It's what we do. Good evening, everybody, and welcome into Tider Insider TV, presented each and every week by Buffalo Rock. Once again, tonight we have got Diet Pepsi Wild Cherry. Remember, that's really good going down. To pick up some Pepsi products from Buffalo Rock the next time you're at your local grocery store. Alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com, I'm Gary Harris. Rodney, Coach Saban continued to caution about drawing too many conclusions after Saturday's 8A game, but that hasn't stopped Crimson Tide fans from, drawing conclusions, just like on Tider Insider. If there's one glaring takeaway, it has to be the dominance, Rodney, of the Alabama defense. That's not out of the norm for spring days at Alabama, but on Saturday, I tell you what, that defense, that first-team defense against that first-team offense, man, they were really dominant. The second-team offense did have some success against the second-team defense, but all in all, defense ruled again. 7-3, the white team beat the Crimson.
Well, I think it was about what we expected. Really didn't think it would be much different. It's generally how the 8A game goes. And when you look at it, the offensive side of the ball, really kind of bland, to be quite honest. And, you're looking at an offensive line that did not have your best player in Cam Robinson, left tackle. You've got a lot of kind of experiments going on there, a lot of young players at left guard, at center. Ross Pierce-Baker moving over there this spring. Lester Cotton was at left guard. Right guard, you had a redshirt freshman in Brandon Kennedy. Right tackle, you had a true freshman, Jonah Williams. You're talking about trying to block that defensive front with those guys right now at this point in spring. It makes it really difficult.
Well, if the defense was the star overall, the star of stars then was outside linebacker Tim Williams. Plays a lot with his hand in the dirt. He won the Dwight Stevenson Lineman of the Game Award. The team has high expectations for the senior outside linebacker this season. He definitely lived up to the hype on Saturday, Rodney. I hate to say he was unblockable, but for lack of a better term, he was unblockable.
Yeah, Tim Williams, obviously, Gary, a guy that we watched last year, made, 19 tackles all year, and 10 of those, or 10 and a half, were sacks. 12 and a half were tackles for losses total. So, again, that's kind of what he does. He's a guy that's a disruptor, and this year it's going to be really interesting having the opportunity to watch him full-time as a three-down player.
It is, and I was thinking about something Saturday when we were watching the game. I remember the late, great Derek Thomas. You could scheme for him, you could bring somebody over to chip him. Some guys, though, Rodney, they just have the ability to get to the quarterback, regardless of what it seems like you try to do scheme-wise against them. He appears to be one of those guys that has special talent. If you set up too far on the outside, he'll cut inside of you. His speed rush around the edge is unbelievable, and he can bull rush you too. He's not a small guy. This is a disruptive football player, and I think Alabama's very fortunate that he came back.
Yeah, again, I think really, Gary, the key with him is just having the opportunity to develop as a full-time linebacker. I think that's what will make him a better, NFL prospect, is knowing how to play the position on three downs. And so I think that's one of the keys for him coming back. But you're right. What he does from the outside with the pass rush is quite phenomenal. And certainly he has some guys up front helping him out that really put a lot of stress on an offensive line.
What do you think he's weighing now? Maybe 250 pounds?
Well, he's about 260.
Wow.
People talk about him gaining weight. I thought he was about the same weight last year. Now, when he came in, he was obviously lighter, but I think he, had put on the weight last year, and he's carrying it pretty well.
He's a big guy. So is Ryan Anderson. Well, there wasn't a ton of offense in the game, but the offensive player of the game had to be running back Damian Harris, playing with the second-team offense. He won the Dixie Howe Memorial Most Valuable Player Award, Rodney. This after accumulating 134 yards on 20 carries. He also had a couple of receptions. And after being overshadowed all spring by Bo Scarborough, this was Damian Harris's day to shine.
Well, we've said all along, since before spring practice, when people started talking about the running backs, we thought that this was really a big spring for Damian Harris, because maybe he didn't quite have the freshman year that when he came in that he had hoped. But, he was young. He needed some opportunities to develop, find out what it took to play on this level. And you can see over the course of the offseason, Gary, he really had more or less of a transformation of sorts. He ran with a different demeanor in this game. He certainly was very decisive. He ran tough. There was no indecision. And I thought it was great to see, because when you look at this Alabama running back core with Bo Scarborough and Damian Harris, you need that 1-2 punch in this system. And I think when you see Damian Harris, he's starting to look like now he can provide that.
Yeah, you absolutely need it, because the running back unit reportedly took a big hit last week when sophomore Ronnie Clark reportedly tore his Achilles. I've talked to sources that say that's indeed the case. If so, it's the second Achilles injury in about a year and a half for Clark, Rodney. And Coach Saban has praised this young man for being an ultimate team player. He's a good kid, a hard worker. How does this injury impact the running back core?
Well, I think it certainly hurts you from a depth standpoint. Here's a guy that is a very versatile kid. He can play, at the running back position. Some people even thought that eventually he might become that more of a fullback, H-back type guy with his size. But no, I think when you're talking about he has some experience, and when you're talking about losing a guy when you're already kind of thin, I mean, I think it's a blow. B.J. Emmons is able to do what he needs to do to get into school this summer. Look out for him, right? Yeah. Well, B.J. Emmons, the freshman coming in from North Carolina, yeah. The thing is, Ronnie Harris has been in the program. He knows what it takes, to play here. So that's something that now B.J. Emmons is really going to have to step it up. Yeah, we hate it for Ronnie Clark, too, because like we said, for everybody that I've talked to, he's just a fabulous young man. But you know what? He'll work to come back. That's all you can do. We've seen people overcome two Achilles tears before. If there is good news, Rodney, I understand it's the opposite, leg this time, so not the same one. All right, the team will get a little more running back help in the future, but we're going to have to wait until 2019. Right now, I'm really a little timid about doing these commitments this far out, but it is official. Trey Sanders, a great athlete who possibly could play running back from St. Joe, Florida, is only going into the 10th grade, I think, but he is committed for the class of 2019. Any thoughts on that? Just I guess. He's a good-looking player. I mean, I saw his tape, and, he's certainly a good-looking prospect. But once again, a kid committed last year this time, Darrell Rosenthal, and now he's already decommitted, and he was kind of in that similar situation. So, again, putting stock in these commitments is a little risky. That's a long time away, but we did want to pass it along to you because he did publicly announce it. All right, still to come on TITV, a pair of Crimson Tide women's teams excelling in postseason competition. And we talked defense, we talked running backs, but what about the quarterbacks? I know you thought they forgot. No, we didn't. We'll discuss the underwhelming results from the Crimson Tide throwers on A-Day. And coming up as well, we'll be welcoming your phone calls at 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. You can email us at TITV@WVUA23.com, or you can reach us on Twitter using the hashtag TITV. That's starting to happen a lot. Katarina and Brandon are on top of that Twitter account right now, just waiting for your questions and comments. So we'll be right back with the only show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide. The award-winning Tider Insider TV will return right after this timeout. Ryan Kelly, Reggie Ragland, Derrick Henry, and Jake Coker, Alabama's permanent team captains for 2015. Now they're all permanently part of Denny Chime's lore. At least their hands and feet are. The four captains put their handprints and their cleat prints into the cement in front of Denny Chimes in the annual Walk of Fame ceremony on Saturday. It's one of the highlights of the A-Day weekend. And welcome back to Tider Insider TV alongside Rodney Orr. I'm Gary Harris. A lot of Alabama fans expressed disappointment with the offensive effort in Saturday's A-Day game. Much of the blame, of course, laid on the arms of the four quarterbacks. Afterward, Nick Saban addressed the QB's performances.
There were some good plays made by some quarterbacks, and I think every one of them probably have some things that they can learn from. But I saw some good things, and I saw some things that we probably need to do better.
All right, Rod, let's discuss the quarterback play. Running with the first-team offense, you had Bateman and Cornwell. With the second-team offense, you had Barnett and Hurts. The stats were better for the second-team offense, but they were facing the second-team defense in all fairness. Just your evaluation after watching every play of that game of what you saw from the four QBs. Well, like Nick Saban said later, it's who you're playing against does matter, and certainly I think that hurt the two, Cornwell and Bateman, because they're playing against that great defense. But I think if you just look at it, Gary, and you can't really take too much. We said last week, don't take too much from the way the quarterbacks perform. But I think Jalen Hurts right there, I thought he was very impressive. He was 11 of 15 for a true freshman, only been out of high school for 2 months or so, 3 months, whatever it is. I thought he was extremely impressive at times. Now, he's got a lot to learn. You saw that tip ball there that was kind of in the coverage, but
I thought he did a fantastic job. He's got a lot of mobility. I really like him in the future.
And
I think he's got a chance. And I thought Blake Barnett did an outstanding job too.
And Barnett, yeah, the other team with the wide offense, he had nice numbers as well after hearing mixed reviews on him in the spring. There you see a great throw right there to Marks across the middle into traffic. He hit some tight windows with those balls.
He did, and he forced some in there, but he still, I thought he stood with a lot of confidence. I liked that, and he delivered some throws, did not seem intimidated at all, and I thought Miller Forstall did an outstanding job, the freshman tight end. Again, he's just another guy that's a couple of months out of high school. So all in all, I thought those were some pretty solid performances. And there you see Cam Sims, who was coming off injury. Last year he played, really wasn't himself, and he made some nice plays. So there were some guys that did perform well offensively.
And on the other side, quarterback-wise, Bateman, the only guy with experience, showed some leadership, I thought. And in fairness to him, he hit Calvin Ridley down the sideline on a strike. That might have been a touchdown that was dropped. You may not ever see that again. And then Cornwell had one nice throw late in the game to Ridley. But numbers-wise, statistic-wise, as I said, they both struggled a little bit.
Yeah, they did. And I thought Bateman, like you said, I agree with you, Gary. Some people might have said that he didn't perform that well. I thought he did okay. And I think that he's a guy, again, he had 15 weeks of preparation last year, those opportunities to get some reps and go through the preparation process that they do. I think that's very helpful to him, and he seems to have a command of the offense.
All right, 4 of them will continue to battle into fall camp, and who knows, possibly beyond. Nick Saban made it clear he's not anywhere close to making a decision on the quarterbacks as spring camp comes to an end. Well, more ahead on TITV. The Alabama gymnastics team was right in line for its 7th national championship. Find out just how close the Tide came to getting it in Fort Worth, Texas. And next, we'll be welcoming your phone calls, emails, and tweets. Again, the information right there on the screen on how you can get in touch with us. So go ahead and do that. Get in touch with us now. We want to hear from you when we return to TITV on a Tuesday night from Bryant-Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa. In the final rotation of the night, the Alabama gymnastics squad scored the highest beam total in the NCAA championships, but it wasn't enough to catch Oklahoma as the Crimson Tide winds up taking 3rd at the NCAA championships behind Oklahoma and LSU. Alabama is the only team in the country to finish in the top 4 of the NCAA championships the last 8 seasons. Congratulations to Coach Dana Duckworth and her squad. And another Crimson Tide team is in the postseason, and they're champions as well. The Alabama women's golf team won the SEC championship over the weekend at Greystone Golf and Country Club in Birmingham. It's Tide's 3rd SEC title, all under Mick Potter. Bama will host the NCAA regionals at Shoal Creek in 2 weeks. All right, time now to host some phone calls right here on the program. Let's get right to it. First up, Sue, right here in Tuscaloosa. Good evening, Sue. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How are y'all?
Very well.
All right. After the A-Day game, with Jalen showing what he's got with his throwing skills and running skills, is it a good possibility he could possibly be the next quarterback? And also with Tony Brown showing a lot of improvement out there with the A-Day game, is he going to be able to play this coming up year, or is his suspension going to be indefinitely, or have they not made a decision yet?
All right, Sue, first of all, on Jalen Hurts, he's in the mix. I mean, we get asked about him a lot. I mean, it would be a surprise, in my opinion, if he won the job simply because a true freshman has never started at quarterback at Alabama under Nick Saban. But he does have a great skill set. He showed up well in the 8A game, and he's battling for it right now. I will say this to Sue or anybody: he's not the only talented quarterback on the roster. The attributes, Sue, that you talk about with Jalen Hurts, all of these quarterbacks have those. They're all very talented. They all can do some good things. But yes, I think he'll factor in the race. But we're just going to have to wait and see in regards to all these guys.
Well, I think, first of all, you have to look at it historically. Only one true freshman quarterback's ever started at Alabama. Now, that doesn't mean that Jalen Hurts might not break that and become the second guy. But he's very talented. I mean, there's no question about that. And, you never really know this thing's carrying over into fall camp. I think for a true freshman, what he did this spring was pretty phenomenal, given that he was just in high school a couple of months ago. And let's see how much progress he makes from now till fall camp. And see where it goes. But I think the battle's carrying over to August.
And as far as Tony Brown's concerned, our next caller wants to talk about him as well, Sue, so we'll hold off on that. Let's go to Philip in Clinton. How are you, Philip?
Doing pretty good. I just wanted to know, is Tony Brown going to be eligible this year? And if not, how does that affect our depth? Because I think the guy's got a lot of talent.
Yeah, he got a lot of talent. Now, I'll say this, Philip. That's one area where Alabama's loaded. I mean, they're loaded. They got defensive back types all over that team. Guys that you probably not even heard of that might be starting for some other teams, in my opinion. That's how talented they are at that position. Tony Brown's situation is going to be settled. I mean, he is under suspension from the NCAA. Alabama has appealed that. I do think he's going to miss some games. That's my opinion. But I do think at some point he'll be with this team in 2016. And you're right. He's very talented. He can do a lot of different things in the secondary. When they get him back, he'll factor in. Certainly on special teams as well.
Yeah. He can play a lot of different roles. That's what really makes Tony Brown valuable. You know, he's a guy that can play the star position. He can play corner, could probably play safety. He's worked there some. So, you know, it's just his versatility is certainly very valuable. And again, Gary talked about his suspension. We really can't address that right now because nobody really knows. Now, I would say, if you ask me to guess, I think at some point, next year, he will be eligible to play. But, you know, that remains to be seen.
But like we were saying, a lot of talent in that secondary, man. I'm telling you, they got some guys that can play. All right, let's take a tweet because we've been soliciting those tweets, and we've got one right here from at MJC Bama Mike. Discuss team speed on offense. Well, there's a lot of it. Mike, when you're talking about Ridley, Foster, and Ardarius Stewart at wide receiver, all those guys can fly. Bo Scarborough, for a big man, has tremendous speed. O.J. Howard is faster than your average tight end. They've got playmakers that can run on the offensive side of the ball. We didn't see much of it Saturday, but they do.
Well, some people ask about that, Gary. I've even heard a few people comment on that about after comparing to what they saw from the defense on Saturday and how fast the defense is. Yeah, I agree with you. You know, there's a lot of speed on the outside with those guys and those three receivers that you mentioned. And I think, you know, with Garrett Dieter coming in, he's another guy that has some speed too on the outside. And you mentioned Bo Scarborough, he's got tremendous speed. Damian Harris. So I think speed-wise, I don't think there's going to be any issue in terms of that for this Alabama offense. Now let me say this: if Cooper Bateman's a quarterback, he's a legitimate 4-5 guy. So he even brings speed to that position. He can be a threat running the ball. Jalen Hurts is a quarterback; he'd be a threat running the ball. Blake Barnett, same thing. He may not be have a great 40 time necessarily, but he is a guy that is athletic and can move. So I think they're going to have plenty of speed offensively.
All right, coming up, Bama baseball back in action tonight, and more your phone calls, emails, and tweets. Again, there's the information posted on your television screen, so give us a call. You can get through right now. We'll be right back with more Tighter Insider TV after this. The Bama baseball team lost Friday night against Ole Miss, but rallied to win Saturday and Sunday to win the series. A big series win for the Tide. Right now they're hosting Troy. We'll have highlights for you on WVUA 23 News at 10. Let's get right back to the phone lines because folks are lined up for us. Let's go to Anniston and talk to Garrett. Garrett, you're on the program. Go ahead, my friend.
Hey, how you guys doing tonight?
Very well.
I got a question for Rodney. My question is, we know all about Namath and Snake and Thomas and all them guys. Can you tell me about the unheard of Alabama player, his story, and what we don't know?
Give us a clue who you're talking about. I mean, is there?
I'm asking you guys about some Alabama player that has a story that the public don't know.
Well, Garrett, if they're an All-American, you know, they probably are pretty well known. It's a good question. It's probably one that would take a little time to think about. There's been a lot of guys that have come through here with great stories that have overcome adversity to be really good football players. I don't know that we can just answer that off the cuff. Right?
Yeah, a lot of names are kind of running through my head right now and stories and so forth. But, off the top of my head, I really would rather, that's a good question to think about and maybe address it at a later time.
All right, Gary, we'll make a note of that, and we'll try next week. I'll tell Brandon to make a note of that, and we'll Rodney and I both come up with a guy that we think fits your question right there and tell you about it. Let's stay in Anniston and talk to Harold. Hey, Harold, what's up, man?
Hey, what's up, guys?
How you doing?
I want to ask you guys, what was the attendance for the A-Day game? And I wanted to say, once again, LSU gets picked over Alabama to win the SEC.
That's what bothers Harold. 76,212, the listed attendance. I thought, in my opinion, it was maybe between 65 and 70, but another really good crowd for
I thought it was more than last year. to be honest with you.
Real good. Real quickly, we want to try to get Kerry in Northport, who's been on hold. Kerry, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you guys doing?
Very well. What you know, sir?
I'd like to know if you had to pick a starting five for the offensive line, who would it be?
Go ahead, Rod.
Well, I think based on, you just have to base on what we saw this spring. I don't think anything's really cemented, but obviously Cam Robinson at left tackle. I think Lester Cotton, they're really trying to develop him at left guard, and Ross Pierce-Baker did an outstanding job making that transition from left guard to center. So I think those three guys, and then you look at the right guard spot. Will it be Shank Taylor? Will he be in shape? Coach Saban kind of called him out on that. Losing some weight. If not, Brandon Kennedy, the redshirt freshman from Wetumpka, did an outstanding job this spring, and possibly true freshman Jonah Williams, just been in school here a couple of months. He could nail down that right tackle spot, but there are some other options there, including Corin Curvin, who started the A-Day game at left tackle. So, again, I don't think anything's necessarily cemented yet, but those are some of the guys that I think I'd keep an eye on.
All right. Thanks for the phone calls, emails, and tweets. We'll have more TITV coming up. Trent Richardson finally has an NFL home again. We'll have the details next right here on TITV. Former Alabama running back Trent Richardson is back in the NFL. He signed officially on Monday with the Baltimore Ravens. He did not play last year in the league, and he owns a very underwhelming 3.3 yards per game carry average in his 37-game NFL career. But let's hope that he comes back with a vengeance with the Ravens and makes the team. All right, our beautiful shirts tonight provided as always by the Locker Room in downtown Tuscaloosa, home of the original elephant wear, ties to boot. Go by and see Alex Gatewood, Rush, and the folks, or you can shop online at locker-room.biz. Terrific place to shop and great service as well. And before we close it out tonight, it is Tuesday evening, the third Tuesday of the month. That means we're headed to Buddy's Rib and Steak in Northport for some good vittles. Come over and join Rodney and I talk some football. That's going to do it for TITV. For Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. Have a great night, everybody. So long.